Hi, I'm Hal Roberts. This is Bridge City News. Here's some of the top stories we've been following. The Israeli Defense Forces say they were able to wipe out a key Hamas command center along with a Hamas leader in the northern Gaza region. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is challenging Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to give all Canadians a carbon tax break when it comes to their home heating. And the Alberta government announced reforms to auto insurance, which they say will save good Alberta drivers some money.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Hal Roberts.
Thanks so much for joining us. Jordan is pulling its ambassador out of Israel. Government officials are protesting what they call a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The kingdom has also told Israel's ambassador to remain out of Jordan until Israel stops its war on Gaza. The move comes after the Israeli military bombed terrorist strongholds near Gaza City for a second straight day. It says it's targeting Hamas terrorists. The first Palestinians, including many of dual passport holders and seriously injured people, were allowed to leave Gaza and cross into Egypt. There were no Canadians among the 400 foreign nationals. The list includes citizens from Australia, Austria, the Czech Republic, Finland, Japan, and Jordan. Israeli military officials say they destroyed a Hamas command center set up in civilian houses and a network of tunnels underneath. They say dozens of terrorists were killed, including a key Hamas commander for the northern Gaza region. The attacks also leveled apartment buildings at a refugee camp near Gaza City.
חיסלנו הערב את המחבל המרצח אברהים ביארי. ביארי הוא מוביל הלחימה המרכזי בצפון הרצועה מאז כניסת כוחות צה"ל לעזה. יש לו גם חלק בטבח ב7 באוקטובר. במהלך החיסול שלו נהרגו מחבלים רבים. מחבלים ששהו יחד איתו במבנה ובאזור התת-קרקע מתחת למבנים. הפגיעה במבנה של ביארי הקריסה מבנים נוספים בגלל שהייתה שם תשתית קרקע רחבה בג'באליה שתכליתה הייתה מימוש מבצעי טרור כנגד כוחותינו.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the price of justice for Israel cannot be suffering for all Palestinians. Government officials say while Canadians were not among the first movement of foreign nationals out of Gaza, they're hoping that they will be able to leave in the next few days.
We, of course, continue to unequivocally condemn Hamas's abhorrent terrorism, and Israel has the right to defend itself. But the price of justice cannot be the continued suffering of all Palestinian civilians. We are deeply concerned by the catastrophic impact on the population in Gaza, particularly on children, which is why we are calling for humanitarian aid and water and fuel to flow into Gaza. We're calling on humanitarian pauses to allow that to happen. We're calling on the liberation of hostages, on aid to flow in, and on Canadians and their families to get out of Gaza.
Protesters disrupted U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's remarks at a Senate hearing as he was discussing aid for both Israel and Ukraine. Let's listen in.
In the face of Russia's aggression against Ukraine, not in the face of an intensifying strategic competition in the Indo-Pacific and around the world.
If the witness will suspend, and I ask that everyone again respect this hearing, we will suspend until the room is cleared.
Is calling for a ceasefire. Shame on you all. The world is calling for a ceasefire.
I know that several
Palestinians aren't animals.
Disruption is removed.
Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says there will be no easy victories in the counteroffensive to retake Russian-occupied territory. Zelensky's comments came as Russia appeared to intensify its assaults on Ukraine. One minister said the country experienced the most attacks in one day on Tuesday since the start of the war back in February of 2022. A recent strike by a Russian rocket at an apartment complex in Kherson city center killed at least one person and injured two others. The New York Times is reporting that the total number of Ukrainian and Russian troops either killed or wounded since the war in Ukraine began is over 500,000. That does not include civilian deaths, which is close to 10,000. Federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says he will force a vote in Parliament over extending a carbon price exemption for all forms of home heating. He's challenging Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to a carbon tax election and urging the Liberals to exempt all home heating from carbon pricing until that vote. Trudeau has ruled out any further carve-outs to the carbon pricing system, except what he's already offering those in Atlantic Canada when it comes to heating their homes with oil.
Last week, he had doubled down on his carbon tax, saying there would be no breaks for anyone, that Atlantic Canadians, and indeed all Canadians, according to Trudeau, could freeze in the dark. And then his members of Parliament started pounding on his office door. He was briefed that I was on the verge of holding a 1,000-person rally in a former Liberal stronghold of common sense Nova Scotians rallying to axe the tax. He trembled in the corner of the office, shaking in the fetal position, begging me to cancel the rally, to take the heat off of him. But my friends, let's not forget, it was roughly a year ago today that you in this room, the common sense Conservatives, launched a campaign to keep the heat on and take the tax off, and we're continuing that campaign today.
Lethbridge MP Rachel Thomas echoed the comments from her leader, Pierre Poilievre. She says giving a carbon tax break for those in Atlantic Canada is great, but Albertans expect some help as well with their home heating needs, especially our seniors who are struggling to pay their bills.
The Minister of Labour and Seniors had this to say. He said, "This is purely an affordability issue." Direct quote. Conservatives believe that that is true. It is an affordability issue for all Canadians, not just some. And so can the Minister for Labour and Seniors tell me why the seniors in my community don't deserve the same break as the seniors in his community?
Child poverty in this country cut in half thanks to the Canada Child Benefit, which the Conservatives, how did they vote, Mr. Speaker? They voted against. An affordable childcare system that is saving Alberta families up to $10,000 a year and creating 65,000 new spaces. How did the Conservatives campaign, Mr. Speaker? Against. Mr. Speaker, a pipeline to Tidewater. And what did the Conservatives do as we were getting TMX ready to be built? They argued against. Mr. Speaker, we're here for Canadians. We're here for Albertans. We're going to make sure that our climate plan works. They can argue against. We're here for Canadians every step of the way.
The Alberta government announced reforms to auto insurance. Premier Daniel Smith says her government will be taking action to ensure that beginning next year, drivers with good driving records will not see their insurance rates increase beyond inflation.
This is part of our plan to update the regulations to make more options available. Another part of our plan is to amend regulations so insurers cannot charge rates that are too high during unforeseen events. This was the case during the pandemic, when people were driving far less than usual, and we will take steps to protect Albertans against that kind of thing from happening again. And we'll also give the Auto Insurance Rate Board the authority to require auto insurers to rebate premiums to their customers based on profit levels. This will ensure that insurance companies can still run their business while also ensuring that Albertans may be able to recoup some of their fees. I want to be clear, these are short-term solutions and our government is adopting in response to Canada's inflationary economy. But we know that Albertans have long-term concerns around auto insurance rates.
The province has also commissioned an in-depth analysis concerning longer-term reforms. Officials say a draft report is expected by the end of this year, with the final report slated for the first quarter of next year. Premier Daniel Smith was asked why her government didn't just give Albertans back $8 million instead of spending the funds on a Tell the Feds advertising campaign. Taxpayer money which would have provided Albertans relief with their high energy bills.
We're trying to make sure that every MP across the entire country understands that they're acting in a way that will create unreliability in our grid, create unaffordability in our grid, and is unconstitutional. So MPs make a decision on this. MPs have the ability to advocate for something that is more reasonable, and we want to make sure that every MP understands our position.
Well, we enjoyed a sunny but slightly cool day across much of southwestern Alberta again. However, it was a lot warmer than Halloween. Jeanette Rocher is now with a quick peek at the forecast. Jeanette, it's kind of looking like a mixed bag weather-wise for the rest of the week.
Yeah, you're right. It is a little bit how we are looking at a bit of rain and then some increased temperatures later on in the week. Overnight, though, a -4, a few clouds developing, those clouds developing into rain by Thursday. In fact, we're looking at a 70% chance of showers, high of 5 degrees. But after that, we're looking at that temperature doubling by Friday and lots of sunshine. And I'll be back later in the show to give you that 7-day forecast.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeanette. Some parents in a Saskatchewan town say they're upset after their children's school banned Halloween costumes. The Kenora Junior Elementary School changed its policy around costumes, instead requesting students celebrate Harvest Day on October 31st. The school says it changed the policy because it wanted to be more inclusive of families that don't participate in Halloween. Some parents say the decision was unfair to students who wanted to wear costumes to school. Police in Winnipeg are investigating another homicide. They say they responded to a report of a man who was found dead inside of a suite in the Point Douglas area of the city. The man has not yet been identified, and their investigation is still ongoing. Winnipeg has experienced 28 homicides so far this year. Now, that is down from the 54 homicides the city experienced in 2022. A recent poll by Leger suggests 73% of respondents trust police in Canada. The study found that police were considered the most trusted Canadian institution. Elections Canada came in second, earning the trust of 69% of people surveyed. Only 44% trust the House of Commons, and just over 40% say they trust the mainstream media. A sentencing hearing for a Fort Macleod man caught filming a woman in a shower will take place next week. Tate Owen Rasmussen pleaded guilty last May to a single charge of voyeurism. On January 9th, police responded to a report of a disturbance at the YMCA here in Lethbridge. Police said a man was seen using his cell phone to record under a shower stall while a woman was showering. The suspect was confronted by 2 other men but left before police arrived. YMCA employees assisted the police to identify the man, and he was subsequently arrested. Up to $25,000 in funding was unanimously approved by Lethbridge City Council on Tuesday afternoon. The money will be used to fund consulting resources to support the development of child care needs assessment. Councillor Jen Schmidt-Rempel tabled the motion and says an earlier report by the city identified a gap of about 600 child care spaces in the community this year. She says help is needed, especially for those who are new to our country.
I've heard from community stakeholders supporting newcomers to the community, YWCA representatives, Lethbridge College representatives, student representatives at the University of Lethbridge, Lethbridge Chamber and Economic Development Lethbridge representatives. The lack of childcare and affordable childcare in our community may be preventing caregivers, those who are largely women, from accessing English language learning programs, educational and employment opportunities. That a lack of childcare opportunities could be creating a barrier to access for other opportunities and services for many in our community.
City officials say the child care needs assessment will be completed by the second quarter of next year. A bus with Southland Transportation was involved in a collision early Wednesday morning in Lethbridge. Officials with the school division say the incident occurred at 8:24 a.m. at the intersection of 10th Avenue South and Mayor McGrath Drive. 2 Fleetwood Bodden Elementary School students were on the bus at the time of the collision. Fortunately, there were no injuries. Parents of the students involved came and picked up their kids. An investigation into the cause of the collision is ongoing. 3 YMCA volunteers in Lethbridge could be the lucky recipients of some pretty big bucks for their post-secondary studies. The YMCA announced their nominees for the Ted Rogers Community Scholarship, which awards $1,000 to hundreds of recipients across the nation. The Y is hoping their 2 nominees will be included with the winners. They've also nominated one of their volunteers for the chance at the RBC Future Launch Scholarship for Black youth, which provides $10,000 annually for up to 4 years of study. Additionally, the Y has honored 3 lifeguards with scholarships to help them with their training and certification.
And so that was a call out to community to ask for people who were interested in becoming lifeguards that we would support financially in terms of the training. So that scholarship is valued at $1,340, and that is the cost of the training courses and the program materials to become a lifeguard. And so we recognize that for some people, the cost of the certifications are actually a barrier to becoming a lifeguard. And we could always use more lifeguards in the region.
And you know, if that wasn't enough, one of the YMCA's own employees, Matthew Clarkson, is the recipient of a $1,000 YMCA Community Commitment Scholarship. Clarkson is a student of Indigenous Studies at the University of Lethbridge and won based on how he's been able to incorporate community commitment with his work at the Y.
One of the things that I've always sort of pushed for as an employee of the YMCA before I was even a leader with the YMCA, I've always been somebody who's really focused on reconciliation. I'm an Indigenous studies major myself in my 4th year, and it's really something that I have sort of put at the forefront of who I am.
All 7 nominees and scholarship recipients will be honored at a very special ceremony taking place this Friday at the Corvan Ray YMCA here in Lethbridge. Well, the snow is on the ground, and before you know it, winter will be here as well. A popular ski resort with ski and snowboard enthusiasts in southern Alberta is Castle Mountain. Cole Fawcett is the group's marketing manager. He says they actually receive more snow than many other resorts here in the province, so there should be lots of powder for skiing this season.
Castle has some exceptional terrain. It's has a great variety and has great terrain for advanced and expert level skiers, intermediates and beginners too. But one of the things that really sets us apart from some of our competitors is the mountains on which we occupy. We have an abundance of terrain, and we see the most snow on average in the province of Alberta, period, of any other resort.
Be sure to catch the full interview with Cole Fawcett from Castle Mountain Ski Resort and BCN's Naveen Day coming up later in our broadcast. Veteran Hollywood actor and producer Kevin Sorbo has been involved in a number of TV series and films over the years, including Hercules and the very popular God's Not Dead films. Well, he's now part of a new movie called Miracle in East Texas. Mr. Sorbo says this movie, which co-stars John Ratzenberger from the Cheers fame, is based on a true story.
In 1930, right in the heart of the Depression in America, there were two con men, and I played by myself and John Ratzenberger. And these guys would go from, in Oklahoma, Texas, go from town to town. They would woo widows out of their money on fake oil wells. And they would sell 500% of the shares wherever they went. Well, you can only have 100% anything, but they really ripped people off. And then they got to Kilgore, Texas. They accidentally strike oil. Ends up being the largest oil find in the history of the world. So it's called Miracle in East Texas, obviously because they found oil when they weren't looking for it. But it's the miracles that happen afterwards when they get arrested.
Make sure you catch the full interview with actor and producer Kevin Sorbo and BCN's Jeanette Rocher coming up in the second half of our program. Well, it was kind of a gloves and warm jacket kind of day today in southwestern Alberta, but fortunately, the weather may be warming up a little. A full look at the weather picture is coming up. You know, it was a sunny day in Lethbridge today, but more clouds could be rolling in. And in fact, it may even be rain clouds. Jeanette Rocher is now with all of the weather details. Jeanette, the rain should be short-lived, however, and then we may see some warmer temperatures soon here in southwestern Alberta.
Yeah, exactly, Hal. We've got some warmer temperatures on the horizon, but first we're going to be seeing these overnight temperatures in the minuses and then jump up to 5 degrees on Thursday with that 70% chance of showers. And as you mentioned before, that is short-lived because we're going to be seeing some sunshine after that. High of 10 degrees on Friday, that little jump in temperature there. 8 degrees for a high on Saturday, lots of sunshine as well. Down to 3 only on Sunday with mainly cloudy skies, looking at a high of 8 on Monday and 7 degrees to round out that 7-day forecast on Tuesday. So the average high for this time of year, 9 degrees. So we're kind of staying in that range there. Average low, -4, 21. That was our high temperature. That would have been nice. That happened back in 1947, though. And then 1984, we were sitting at -27 degrees. Not so nice. Okay, 8:20. That's when the sun rose this morning. Sunset this evening at 6:09 p.m. We're looking at 9 hours now and 39 minutes of daylight. So we're now in that 9-hour range instead of the 10 and 11 hours. So days getting shorter, unfortunately. Looking at rain, 5 to 10 millimeters tomorrow in Victoria, high 15 degrees, 13 for high in Vancouver. 10 to 20 millimeters of rain, though, and we're also looking at a freezing rain warning on the Coquihalla Highway from Hope up to Merritt, and that's taking place this evening right through till tomorrow morning. 3 for a high tomorrow in Edmonton with a mix of sun and cloud. Calgary looking at a 30% chance of some flurries and only 3 degrees. So I guess here in Lethbridge, we should be thankful that we're only looking at showers instead of those flurries. High of 1 degree tomorrow in Saskatoon, mix of sun and cloud. Regina, mainly cloudy skies, 0 also in Winnipeg, and looking at clearing by noon there. As we look to the central part of the country, we are seeing a lot of wind. So gusty wind in Toronto up to 50 kilometers per hour, but lots of sunshine. High of 9 degrees. They're down in those single digits now. Compared to last week, they were up in the 20s. Unbelievable. Ottawa, same thing, looking at 7 degrees for a high, mix of sun and cloud. And Montreal, 7 for a high as well. Clear skies, but up to 50K winds as well there. As we get into Atlantic Canada, Fredericton, high of 4 degrees, mainly clear skies as well. In Halifax, 5 degrees, up to 50K winds there as well. Charlottetown looking at a 60% chance of showers mixed with flurries, 5 degrees rather for a high there. Same thing, 5 for a high in St. John's, but looking up to 5 millimeters of rain and could see up to 60K winds there as well. So there you have it. That is your forecast.
Swoop Airlines has ended its operations after its parent company, WestJet, decided to fold operations under the same banner. Now, in a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, officials thank customers for their support over its 5 years in business. The post read, quote, "As we merge with WestJet, we look forward to new adventures ahead." Over the summer, WestJet announced Swoop would be shutting down in October after pilots for both airlines reached a deal to bring them to a level pay scale, which made operating a low-cost airline less feasible. Company officials say the move will not result in any layoffs, and the Swoop fleet of aircraft will now be repainted with WestJet colors. Luxury parka maker Canada Goose is reporting higher profits for its second quarter. Profit attributable to shareholders increased from $3.3 million last year to $3.9 million this year. Canada Goose Holdings has also cut its financial guidance. Company officials are now expecting total revenue for its 2024 fiscal year to be between $1.2 and $1.4 billion. That compares to earlier guidance of between $1.4 and $1.5 billion. A BC helicopter airline company announced the purchase of Canada's first electric vertical takeoff aircraft for its passenger and cargo fleet. Helijet International President Danny Sitnam says the Alia aircraft, built by Vermont-based Beta Technologies, will allow for quicker, quieter, and more efficient landings and takeoffs from hospitals and other emergency zones. BC Premier David Eby says the purchase will also help to reduce pollution. Beta Technologies has a research and development facility at Montreal's International Airport. Now, here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was up 205 points on the day to finish at 19,079. The Dow was up 221 points to 33,274. The S&P 500 was up 44 on the day to 4237, and the Nasdaq was up 210 points to 13,061. West Texas Intermediate Oil was down 14 cents to $80.88 U.S. per barrel. Natural gas was down 8 cents to $3.49 U.S. Gold was up 18 cents to $19.8272 U.S. an ounce, and silver was even on the day at $22.95 U.S. an ounce. Feed wheat is at $9.31 per bushel, barley's at $7.23, canola's at $15.37, and corn is at $8.64 per bushel. Live cattle were up 8 cents to $183.63. That's for the December contract. Feeder cattle were up 88 cents to $238.58. And lean hogs December contract was down $1.58 to $70.15. The Canadian dollar was up slightly over the past 24 hours to 72.18 U.S.
Recapping one of our top stories, as the war between Israel and Hamas continues in Gaza, the first Palestinians, including many of dual passport holders and seriously injured people, were allowed to leave Gaza and cross into Egypt. There were no Canadians among the 400 nationals. The list includes citizens from Australia, Austria, the Czech Republic, Finland, Japan, and Jordan. The federal government says Canadians are expected to leave Gaza by the end of the week. Do you remember the actor Kevin Sorbo from the TV series Hercules? He was also in the God's Not Dead series. Well, now he's starring in a new film based on a true story called Miracle in East Texas. Find out what the film is all about with BCN's Jeanette Roche as she chats with the veteran actor and producer in just a moment. Listen, when you see news happening in your community, be sure to drop us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. And if you missed any of today's local stories, visit our website, bridgecitynews.ca.
Here's today's Bridge City News Community Calendar. Begin your Christmas preparations at the Barons and Carmen Gee Christmas Craft and Gift Sale on Saturday, November 4th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Barons Community Hall and the Carmen Gee Community Center. Only 10 minutes apart, come enjoy a country drive and shop for that special someone on your list. Lunch will be available, plus door prizes and free admission. Discover a new activity this winter. All are invited to Give It a Try events hosted by the Lethbridge Sport Council. It's a great opportunity to try your hand at a new sport like climbing, badminton, handball, and more. Events are free to attend. Register in advance by visiting lethbridgesportcouncil.ca/program/give it a try. Do you have a heart to serve our community? Lethbridge Soup Kitchen is looking for volunteers to help prepare, serve, and clean up after meals that are given every day. The Lethbridge Soup Kitchen's mission is to help alleviate the struggle of poverty for individuals and families who are poor, have very limited income, or just in need of a hot meal. They also desire to increase public awareness of the needs of the poor and homeless in Lethbridge. For information and to volunteer, visit lethbridgesoupkitchen.ca. And that's today's Bridge City News Community Calendar.
Well, in the world we live in these days, it can be challenging to find good, clean, family-friendly movies to enjoy with your kids. But one studio that is very focused on doing this is Sorbo Studios. Joining us today from Florida is actually Kevin Sorbo. Many of you will recognize Kevin from the hugely popular Hercules TV series from the late 90s, and of course, God's Not Dead, those films. And their latest movie is called Miracle in East Texas. And before we chat with Kevin, let's take a little peek at that trailer.
So this is Texas. Very flat.
I just believe the hand of Providence has been guiding our every step. We're going to hit oil right here on your plate.
Doc Boyd and Dad. While they weren't much good at actually finding or drilling for oil, they both possessed an unusual facility for convincing people that they could do just that.
Oil! I've never felt it so strong in all my life.
Widows were the mother's milk of the petroleum hustle.
Love is not time's fool.
And now that they had a well, it was time to hit every widow they could find in a 3-county radius.
This well, we can't bring it in. We've already sold close to 500%.
Yeah, so?
You can only have 100% of anything. I just wanted to be square with you because I care for you, man. Give you back the $1,000 I took.
That you swindled from other widows. I don't want you here. I want you out of my house.
We gotta take what we got and get it as far away from Texas as we can get.
You want me to walk away from it?
We're crooks. We've conned all those old ladies.
Yeah, we con those old ladies because that's what we do. I'm an oil man.
Praise Jesus in all his glory.
Lotharios.
He's talking about you.
True hand-to-God miracle is what it is.
That's the gospel truth.
Leave the rest up to Jesus! God's own bounty.
Oil.
Black gold.
Amen. Amen.
Ooh, the drama. Miracle in East Texas premieres in Canada Friday, November 3rd. And for those of you in the Lethbridge area, it's playing at Movie Mill. So we now welcome Kevin Sorbo to Bridge City News. Thanks so much for joining us today, Kevin. Great to have you on.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm sorry my wife couldn't be here. She's actually with one of your Canadians, Jordan Peterson, in London right now at a convention. So there you go. I got invited too, but I'm holding down the fort.
Well,
so there you have it.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you're here to talk to me today. So, Kevin, this movie was actually filmed in Canada in the Calgary area, right? So parts of it at Heritage Park, I believe?
Yeah. Most of it was shot. There was a ranch, a working ranch outside that's west of Calgary. And I remember I showed this movie to a group of oil guys in Texas. And afterwards, they did a Q&A. And one of the guys raised his hand and said, "Hey, I know where you shot that." And I said, "No, you don't." Because I said, "We shot it in Canada." They went, "What?" And I said, "Well, it's called show business, not show." So, Canada, you get like a 35% tax credit. I lived in Vancouver. My second series after Hercules was Andromeda, a Gene Roddenberry series. We shot for 5 years up in Vancouver. So I know the whole thing about, Hollywood North, they always call it, down in LA. And This is the ranch we used was the same ranch Clint Eastwood used for Unforgiven. Kevin Costner shot Open Ranger. So if it's good enough for those guys, it's certainly good enough for me. But it was a great location, and we had a lot amazing local cast, and we had John Ratzenberger's in this movie, Lou Gossett Jr., Tyler Mane, who's a Canadian wrestler, by the way, and he's Sabretooth in all the X-Men movies, and my wife is in it as well. It's a wonderful PG-rated movie where the whole family can go, and it's a true story as well.
Okay, well, with that said, tell us a little bit about what it's about. And you said it was a true story. So how was that inspired by this true story?
Well, in 1930, right in the heart of the Depression in America, there was two con men, and I played by myself and John Ratzenberger. And these guys would go from, in Oklahoma, Texas, go from town to town. They would woo widows out of their money on fake oil wells. And they would sell 500% of the shares wherever they went. Well, you can only have 100% anything, but they really ripped people off. And then they got to Kilgore, Texas. They accidentally strike oil. Ends up being the largest oil find in the history of the world. So it's called Miracle in Texas, obviously because they found oil when they weren't looking for it. But it's the miracles that happen afterwards when they get arrested. Of course, they get arrested because, like I said, you can't have 500% of anything. And every widow they ripped off shows up at the court trial to watch these guys hang. But it's a wonderful story about faith and hope and love and redemption and laughter. And it's a wonderful movie. We just had a run here in America and was very well received. And now we're heading up to the North Country up there, which I know very well, not only living in Vancouver, but I've shot a lot of movies in Toronto and Winnipeg, but lived in Minnesota, which is probably our most Canadian state because we start hockey at 2 years old as well.
Exactly. I mean, you're talking about scamming widows, and unfortunately, it's like modern day. I mean, this stuff still goes on, except now they're calling it catfishing, right?
Yep, it's true. But you wouldn't like what they got away with, you would never get away with today because just because of the internet and everything else. Yeah. But at that time, they were able to get away. But it was it's a wonderful true story. It's a lot of laughs. It's won 10 film festivals, everything from best comedy to best faith movie to best family movie, best judge movie. So I like the fact they can't really pigeonhole it because it's got a little bit of something for everyone, but it's a great movie. And I recommend after the movie, do not leave. You got to watch the closing credits because the bloopers are hilarious.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't wait to see it now. How long ago was the Alberta portion filmed? We were trying to think back and it seemed like it was around 2018. Does that sound about right?
2018, 2019, right in there. It was, we were set to go in 2020, then COVID hit. And it put everything on hold for 2 years. So we waited until now when we knew theaters would really be gearing up and going again. And it's like I said, we were so set to go. We were going to open on 1,200 screens here in America. Oh, and then obviously every movie theater shut down around the world, basically, with the COVID fear factor, of course. Exactly. But it's like I said, it's a timepiece movie, so it doesn't age at all.
Good point.
It's just. Yeah, so it's just, people will love it. It's a good, fun family movie.
Awesome. Okay, well, you and your wife, Sam, have been married for 25 years, right? And you have kids. So how much influence does Hollywood have on our children, on your children? And do you think that the films that you're producing are making a difference, maybe?
Well, I know they're making a difference. See, the difference is Hollywood is winning the culture war. They got the money. They got, they do $300 million budget movies. They have $100 million advertising budget. So you see their trailer in every football game, every sitcom. It's just out there. We do movies, I do movies in the $3 million range. That's catering budget in Pirates of the Caribbean, by the way. So we got to fight against that. We got to rely on word of mouth. You mentioned God's Not Dead. God's Not Dead was a $2 million movie, made $140 million. I mean, that movie was all spread because of the people. People spread word of mouth. We need to get these movies out there that have a better effect. They're more positive. These are movies Hollywood used to make. And Hollywood just doesn't do it anymore. You look at the woke culture, which is insanity to me. If you look at what's going on Disney's going to lose over $1 billion this year. It's not a very good business plan if you're a stockholder. I think I'd sell my stock. But they want to keep doing this stuff that people are just going, okay, enough of this stuff. I think the silent majority, which I've heard about for decades, is finally waking up a little bit. But we need more people to wake up and say enough is enough and not being afraid to being attacked by, the media or Hollywood or whatever, or our politicians. I mean, I think your government's just as screwed up as our government is here. So we got to fight against that. And hopefully movies like this do make a difference. And I get through the Sorbo Studio site. I get emails all the time from people just saying how much they love the movies and how much they're great to have positive influences. So please go to sorbostudios.com, sorbostudios.com. You can sign up. We'll give you other information about other things coming on the pipeline, but you'll also see a trailer for the movie as well. And I hope people jump on the board. It's a fun movie, as I said.
Awesome. Okay. Has it released already in the U.S., did you say?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so how are families responding? Are we buying tickets? Are we
Great.
streaming?
I'm getting letters from. I'm getting through the site that people are standing up and cheering at the end of the movie. They're staying through the whole, all the bloopers and everything, and they're loving the movie, which is wonderful. It is written by Dan Gordon, who's Canadian Israeli, been living in America for years, and Dan Gordon wrote the script originally for Paul Newman and Robert Redford. Over 30 years ago. But those guys couldn't get together in a timing to do it, so it just sat around, and Dan brought it to me. But Dan Gordon, he was Oscar nominated. He wrote The Hurricane for Denzel Washington. He wrote White Earp, Kevin Costner's movie. And he wrote 60 episodes of Highway to Heaven. He was a showrunner on that TV Michael Landon did, yeah. So great writer. I've got a couple more of his scripts that we're trying to raise money for right now. So if there's anybody get out there that wants to invest in a movie, go to sorbostudios.com. We got good family movies.
Awesome. Do you stream your stuff as well?
Yes, this will be, we will start streaming once it gets a run down there. I know we're looking at South Africa, England, New Zealand, and Australia as well. But we'll probably start streaming here pretty quickly in the next month.
Okay, amazing. Now, you guys homeschool your kids, or at least your wife does. So do you want to maybe briefly share why you think this can be helpful for families in today's culture?
Well, I think COVID woke up a lot of families in America to realize because our public school system is horrible. I mean, it's horrible. I think we, as recently as 5 years ago, I know we ranked 27th in the world. That's pretty pathetic for America. I think it's really embarrassing. We graduate kids who can't read now. The state of Oregon now said that they can graduate students who can't read or write, that they're okay with that. What does that say? I mean, it's unbelievable to me. We're dumbing down our kids. I mean, Ronald Reagan had some great quotes when he was president back in the 80s. And one of my favorite quotes is he said, "These are the biggest words to fear. Hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help." Because they're not here to help. They're here to make your lives miserable. Everything the government runs in America is pretty pathetic. And during COVID, 2 million more families are now homeschooling because they finally woke up to look at public schools as not a great place to use as a babysitting service for their kids.
Oh, wow.
And the indoctrination of the kids, our universities are horrible. Even Bill Maher, as far left as Bill Maher is, he said, don't send your kids to American colleges. And he's not wrong. I mean, it's just... It's ridiculous what's happened to our under 30 group right now. Think communism is a good way to have government. And I'm going, well, maybe they should take a little history lesson and look at Russia and look at Vietnam and maybe North Korea. Maybe they should go visit those countries before they make that decision.
Yeah, I know. We're running out of time here, but Kevin, I know you experienced a bit of cancel culture in Hollywood, getting back to Hollywood here, because you kept being vocal about your sort of more conservative, more Christian worldview. So did that make you want to quit, and has it impacted your life at all?
No, it made me want to keep. I love the industry. Hollywood owes me nothing. I find it funny that they cancel me just because I'm conservative, because Hollywood was started in the conservatives. You look at the Warner Brothers, Warner Studios, that was all conservative. And then things changed really in the 60s when everything sort of changed in America and started sliding the other way. But I formed Sorbo Studios because I still like making movies. And I find it funny because Hollywood screams for tolerance. They scream for freedom of speech, but they're hypocrites. Just like Washington, D.C., these are hypocrites that everything's a one-way street with them. I don't harbor that anger towards somebody if they have an opposite point of view. To me, that's what freedom of speech is supposed to be about. But these guys put a blacklist on people because they don't like the fact that they post the truth. Hollywood is, the truth to Hollywood is kryptonite. So there I give a Superman term for that, but it's pretty funny.
And real quick, Kevin, I understand that you're going to be soon co-starring in a film called Reagan with Dennis Quaid. He's one of my favorites. So what's that about?
It's Reagan's life. I mean, we're this actor strike is postponed. It was going to come out in January, February. Now they're going to postpone it till spring, which is too bad. But Quaid plays the president. I played his pastor in it. And Dennis and I did a movie together about 10 years ago called Soul Surfer, which is another wonderful movie, the life of Bethany Hamilton.
Yes, I saw that. I loved that movie.
I'm the one who saved her life. I played Dennis Quaid's best friend, so I'm sticking with him.
I'm going to have to go back and watch it again now.
Yeah. It's a wonderful movie. Hey, we shot 2 months in Hawaii, so that didn't suck too much. And
Exactly.
Dennis and I only work 3 days a week, so we're both golfers. So we golf the other 4 days.
Did you get in much surfing, or did it kind of steer you away
You know
from
what? They gave me.
surfing?
I had 2 weeks of lessons, but I'm telling you got to grow up with that. I got to a point that I could stand
It's
up for maybe
hard.
2 or 3 seconds, but that's not an easy sport to
I
do when you're
know.
older. You got to grow up with that sport.
Exactly. They make it look so easy. So
I know
easy.
it's fun to watch, though. I can see why people get hooked.
Definitely. Well, Kevin, it's been so much fun to have you on today. Appreciate it so
Thank
much.
you. All right, go see the movie. SorboStudios.com, Miracle in East Texas.
Okay, Miracle in East Texas. It premieres in Canada this Friday, November the 3rd. And here in Lethbridge, it will be playing at the Movie Mill. I'll see you there.
The winter season sees southern Alberta powdered with the white stuff, and I'm talking about snow, which attracts lots of avid skiers to the area. And Cole Fawcett is the go-to guy for all things related to preparing for an exhilarating time on the slopes. He offers valuable insights into the meticulous process of readying the ski hill for the season, shedding light on the behind-the-scenes efforts that ensure optimal conditions and what to watch out for. Cole, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Naveen. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And now, as the ski season at Castle Mountain approaches, what are the key steps you recommend for avid skiers and snowboarders to prepare themselves for the season on the slopes?
Yeah, great question. So if we can get, we don't want to lapse into not working out, not being active through the fall season. I think that's all too tempting for so many of us as the days get a little bit shorter and the temperatures get a bit cooler. So trying our best to keep active, and even if we can get a little bit of strength training in to keep those legs and that core strong for the coming ski season, because we're going to need those muscles when the snow hits the ground. Aside from that, we want to be looking at our gear, making sure that it's ready for the season. And for most of us, that's only going to necessitate a tune-up of skis or snowboards. So a wax or a sharpen of the edges or a grind of the base to make it nice and smooth and flat again. And of course, that wax on top to make sure that it slides really nice on the snow. So I think those are probably the two major things. And aside from that, it pays to think ahead with respect to looking at season passes or frequency cards, what we call our WOW card, to save money, of course, before the season gets here.
So you talked about physically preparing yourself for the season. Now, before we started recording this interview, I revealed to you that I'm not really into skiing. I'm very much a novice. So what would you recommend to someone like myself who is probably going to be hitting the slopes for the first time this year?
So for first timers, there are a lot of great resources out there. Visiting any resort's website and exploring lesson options is going to be probably the most pivotal thing. And of course, I mean, the other things that you probably go without saying, like making sure that you have, a nice warm jacket, nice warm snow pants or ski pants, appropriate clothing in general terms is really essential. First timers generally aren't going to run out to a ski shop and buy all the equipment they need, like ski boots, skis, or snowboard and snowboard boots. And that's certainly not necessary. All of the resorts within Alberta and British Columbia and further afar are going to offer equipment rentals. So usually you're going to want to look at a beginner snowboard or a beginner ski package. And by package, we mean it's going to come with instruction. It's going to come with the equipment you need in terms of that technical equipment, like the skis or the snowboard and the boots and the bindings. It will also come with a helmet, which we highly recommend. Nobody wants to knock the noggin while they're out there. And it will come with a ticket, a lift ticket, which is a little thing that you'll just put on your person that allows you access to the ski lifts. And so when you combine that equipment, the instruction, and the lift ticket, those are usually all packaged together at a reasonably attractive rate and on a full day or a half day basis. And that is the best way to introduce yourself to the sport, bar none.
Absolutely, because it sounds like it's all inclusive. It has everything you need there. So could you provide insights into what goes on behind the scenes and the process for preparing the ski hill for the upcoming season?
So, I mean, preparing for the season to come really starts with the end of the season prior. So, as a resort, we're going through processes like establishing budgets and guidelines for and operational dates, as an example, setting those dates out for when we're going to be open the following season, putting plans in place to get enough staff. And then on a more technical term, there's a team of about 24 staff members at Castle Mountain Resort specifically that are here full-time year-round, getting things ready. And a good deal of those folks are on the outside operations or maintenance side of our business. And they're in a situation where they're doing all kinds of off-season preventative maintenance on lifts, on snowcats, on other equipment, such as buildings, of course, snowmaking equipment. So the snow machines that make snow early season to kind of get us that great base on which we start the season on. So we're not, encountering as many other obstacles that may lie beneath the snow coverage. And then we have a number of off-season projects too, kind of lumped on top of all of those normal things that we just have to do each and every season, that normal off-season maintenance. So in terms of what we're doing this season at Castle, we have purchased another new snowcat, which aren't cheap. They're multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
When you make that investment. Wonderfully capable machines, but extraordinarily expensive. We have added some snowmaking equipment to our fleet to get us in a position where we can be open reliably when we say we intend to be. There is some building maintenance going on, some new roofing on our staff accommodation, some interior upgrades within the day lodge and our cafeteria and our washrooms, and then some equipment upgrades with one of our lifts. The Huckleberry chairlift is getting a new digital drive, which is more or less the brain of the lift and will help us increase the reliability of that lift for years to come.
Now, you've touched on this a bit with improvements you've made to the resort, but for those that might be new to Castle Mountain, what are the distinctive features of your resort that really set it apart from the others, and what should visitors be particularly excited about?
Well, first and foremost, if you're from the greater Lethbridge area, this is the closest Rocky Mountain resort to anybody living in greater Lethbridge, or really anybody in the southwestern portion of the province. So that in and of itself is important to note. Castle has some exceptional terrain. It's has a great variety and has graded terrain for advanced and expert level skiers, intermediates and beginners too. But one of the things that really sets us apart from some of our competitors is the mountains on which we occupy. We have an abundance of terrain, and we see the most snow on average in the province of Alberta, period, of any other resort.
Wow.
Aside from that, there is a certain, I think, different feel to Castle. It's more laid back, it's more homey. It is owned and operated by the community. We have over 200 shareholders who are almost exclusively Albertans and who put their money into the resort basically to see it continue to exist kind of from the mid-90s onward, when it wasn't quite as vibrant, and it wasn't in a position where it was sustainable. And today, at least at this point in time, we are on a path to sustainability and on a path to upgrading some of the assets that we have here, some of the older lifts, as an example.
And beyond skiing itself, resorts often offer a variety of activities and events. Could you share some of the events and activities that Castle Mountain has planned for this upcoming season?
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of the specific dates, we're in a situation where those are still being mulled over, I guess you could say. most of our programming is going to be ski or snowboard related, whether it's an on-mountain scavenger hunt, or it's a ski race, or a freestyle competition, or a big mountain competition. Most of what we have here is going to take place on the snowy slopes in some way, shape, or form. As far as non-skiing stuff goes, we do offer a cross-country ski network here at the resort. It's pretty small, but it exists. And adjacent to us within the Castle Provincial Park, there are some maintained, groomed cross-country skiing and snowshoe trails, very close proximity to us. And I mean, aside from that, the other thing that we have that's unique to Castle and is actually very unique in North America is we have kind of what most people would think of as a ski resort with ski lifts, and you take the lift up and you ski down a run, and it may be all natural terrain, or like powder, or it may be groomed nightly. But we also have something called cat skiing, or snow cat skiing. And that's where you actually hop into one of these snow cats, and it has a cabin on the back of it that's kind of like a minibus in a sense, but it's capable of climbing snow-covered mountains. And cat skiing for us is a very exclusive experience. It's only 12 people per day, 5 days a week, and they get about 1,000 acres of skiable terrain all to themselves. So that's very unique. A lot of cat skiing operations are like in the backcountry. Sometimes you'll fly in via helicopter, or there'll be heli skiing operations. But at Castle, we actually have both of those operations kind of side by each. In fact, you actually take one of the chairlifts to get up to the cat, and then every run you go up the lift, up the cat, ski down, and then repeat that several times a day. So
that cat skiing sounds a lot of fun. So what recommendations do you have for visitors regarding maintenance and selecting the right equipment for the conditions they might occur at the mountain?
Yeah, well, some might say, especially if you're in the ski industry, you can never have enough pairs of skis or snowboard. But really, that's not a feasible thing for most of the population. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, you want to select. I'm not a great expert in this field. There are some great experts in equipment selection at retail stores across Alberta and beyond, of course, and some great resources online. But certainly doing your homework, putting some time into understanding what ski or snowboard works best in what conditions, and putting some thought into where you like to go on the mountains and what type of terrain you like to access. Those are all really valuable things to put a little bit of time and thought into. But certainly there's no substitute for visiting your local ski or snowboard shop. These folks that are generally employed there live, eat, and breathe the sport.
That's amazing. Now, snow quality is a major factor for skiers. How does Castle Mountain manage the snowmaking and grooming operations to ensure consistent and high quality snow cover throughout the season? You talked about purchasing new equipment in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So prior to 2019, we didn't make snow here at all. We relied solely on what Mother Nature brought us. And that is in itself a huge risk to the business, of course. But we have, over the last, 4 years primarily, we've invested more than $2 million in snowmaking infrastructure. And this is a big part of the reason why, right this moment in time, we're, not announcing, new lift infrastructure going in, because those are extraordinarily expensive, pardon me. We're still working on paying down, some of the debt from the major infrastructure that we've put in, and most notably snowmaking. So generally speaking, we are making snow where we have that underground infrastructure. So maybe I'll back up. In order to make snow, you need high pressure water and high pressure air. And that stuff doesn't just magically appear on the mountain. It's piped up there. So underground, there are kilometers of steel pipe for water. And then that is connected and electrical too. So we need electricity. So we've got electrical cabling and water piping going up the mountain in various locations. And the snow machine or the snow maker is connected to that at where we need it, at those pedestals, I guess we call them, or outlets for water and electricity. So if you can just imagine the infrastructure that's in a city to get water to your home, as an example, we have something similar to that here, except on a mountain in the Rockies. So that's really pivotal. Most resorts are going to have this. And of course, we're no exception in this day and age. And so you connect your snowmaking equipment, your guns, sometimes they're referred to, or machines. And basically that high pressure water is thrust up into the air with high pressure air, and it falls down as snow. Slightly more scientific than that. But when it's cold enough, it'll just fall down as snow. So when we talk about getting ready for the season, snowmaking is a really essential part of this. We spend dozens and dozens and dozens of days and hundreds, if not thousands, of human hours on making it. And it's all in the name of getting a good surface down in the event that Mother Nature doesn't deliver. And even if she does, it serves as a great base to help protect us and our equipment from some of the natural hazards that lie beneath.
Well, that was very educational and informative for me. I hope that our viewers got a lot out of that too. That was Cole Fawcett with the Castle Mountain Ski Resort. Cole, thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'm Naveen Day. On behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, thanks for watching.